Here is what West Virginia Senator Joe Manchin and Arizona Senator Kyrsten Sinema were up to today. They each attended private one-on-one meetings with President Biden to discuss their opposition to their own party leaders' budget and policies. Both Manchin and Sinema know their votes can make or break the Biden agenda, and they're using that power to their advantage. Hats off to them for the flex. But who are they flexing for? Let's see how they spend their time. Senator Sinema, she's scheduled tonight for a fundraiser held by S Corp PAC. It's a corporate lobby that argues that closing tax loopholes for big businesses will, quote, kneecap private companies. Another Sinema supporter, Big Pharma. According to the Center for Responsive Politics, the Arizona senator received nearly $500,000 from Big Pharma. They want Biden's reconciliation bill to fail so that Medicare cannot lower drug prices for seniors. Irony of ironies, also known as corruption, is that Sinema began her political career with promises to reduce drug costs. She was an obvious target for Pharma to inform a new senator by bankrolling her campaign. Senator Manchin is in the same boat. Here's what he said to NBC recently. We're just concerned about entitlement mentality versus rewarding mentality, and then taking care of those who really can't take care of themselves. Well, welcome to the entitlements these senators think are worth fighting for. It's not your entitlement to a living wage, a good education, or basic health care. It's the entitlement created by the Supreme Court in the Citizens United case, the entitlement of a corporation as a person. Joining me now to explain all of this is Judd Legum. He's the editor of Popular Information. It's a newsletter about politics and power. Judd, thanks for joining us tonight. We're talking about the dark money in politics. Help us connect some of the dots of how Senators Manchin and Sinema are behaving towards their fellow Democrats and to the American public based on who is putting money in their pockets.
Yeah, I'm happy to. I think what's going on is that you have a bill itself that contains a lot of provisions that are popular not only among Democrats, but also independents and even many Republicans, whether it's expanding the child tax credit, whether it's paid family leave, whether it's transitioning to clean energy. It's a pretty popular program, and it's also popular to pay for that by increasing taxes on corporations and the wealthy. So there now is a really intense effort to try to peel off a couple of Democrats to kill this legislation by the people who don't want to see those taxes go into place. And really, these two senators are the target of this. And you're right, there is a fundraiser tonight with many of the corporate lobbyists and the organizations that are trying to kill this legislation with Kyrsten Sinema. And Joe Manchin is the top recipient, Republican or Democrat, from oil and gas PACs. All of those companies are involved in the corporate lobbying campaign. So it's really a very dramatic situation where you have an extremely popular piece of legislation combined with an all-out corporate lobbying campaign to defeat it. Mm-hmm. There's a couple of senators, there's a handful of members in the House who are really in the crosshairs of this. And the question, we're going to find out in the next few weeks whether it's going to work.
There was an effort several years ago, and Senator John McCain was part of that, to try to end this influence of dark money and corporate lobbying in politics. You mentioned the Supreme Court case that effectively made campaign finance reform null and void because it declared that corporations had the same legal entitlement to advocacy and lobbying that people do. So in the absence of any federal control or regulation, in the absence of these senators taking their responsibility seriously, what are we as consumers and voters supposed to do next?
Well, I think it's important to understand what's happening. And you're right, there's very little restrictions from a campaign finance perspective on what corporations can do. Just today, we learned that the Business Roundtable, which is a group of the most prominent CEOs in the country, Apple, Microsoft, Walmart, are launching a multi-million-dollar ad campaign trying to defeat this legislation. But in many cases, this contradicts these kind of below the radar lobbying campaigns, contradict the public statements from the companies that are behind them. So something that I reported on this week is that Apple has been really outspoken specifically on this bill and about the climate provisions in the bill, saying we urgently need to have the clean energy standard and the programs that are funded in this reconciliation bill. But at the same time, Tim Cook, Apple's CEO, is on the board of the Business Roundtable. And as such, he is participating in this effort to kill the legislation. So there's a lot of duplicity that's going on within corporate America. And I think it's important for consumers, for the public in general, to understand that, because until corporations understand that they'll be held accountable for this and that people know what's going on, I think we're going to continue to see this.
And that's the disconnect I wanted to navigate with you, because we also saw several corporations come out against the abortion bans in Texas, similar legislation now being mapped over in Florida. Yet these same corporations, instead of saying they'll help women at the back, at the end of it, could have helped on the front end by lobbying against this legislation. So what does that say about this idea of social justice in capitalism, or woke capitalism?
I think woke capitalism is one of the biggest myths in modern political discourse. Any corporation, and this is pretty much all of them, that's a member of the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, that's a member of the Business Roundtable, is not woke. In fact, they are pursuing very retrograde policies, through these lobbying campaigns. And, I looked really closely at the abortion bill, the ban that's incentivized by bounties in Texas, and many of the top contributors to the sponsor of this bill are some of America's most prominent corporations, whether it's AT&T or Comcast. And at the same time, these corporations, just to take AT&T for an example, say that their core value is women's equality. So again, you have a situation where there's public messaging that's going on one side, but then when you look at how the money is being spent, and when you look at how these corporations are spending their political dollars, it tells a completely different story. And right now, a lot of these corporations are on two tracks. One thing that you'll see if you watch their marketing, if you follow them on Twitter, if you see the messages that they're trying to use to recruit talented employees, and a whole nother set of priorities and messages if you follow where their political dollars are spent and who they support. And it's that disconnect that's really fueling a lot of the radicalization that we're seeing both at the national level and the state level.
And real quick, before I have to let you go, is then the key naming and shaming not just the politicians, but the corporations and how they're supporting their activities?
I think so, because I think that politicians come and go, but it's the system that is the real heart of the problem. And right now, we have a system that will reward many politicians for doing the bidding of corporations, even when a vast majority of the public is on the other side. And just to kind of circle this back, that's what we're really going to see with this reconciliation bill, where you have a whole menu of really popular programs, but you have corporations on the other side trying to defeat it. And right now, this bill is in real trouble. So we'll see. We don't, politics is unpredictable. We don't know how this story is going to end, but this is coming to a head right now.
Well, Judd Legum, thank you for joining us tonight. And folks, you can follow his work and more about what corporations are doing in your name at Popular Information.